So in part one, I mentioned Jarrett, who made a video on YouTube, which I put in my timelines. So you can go and have a look at this video, and I hope that you do take the time to do that. What I'd like to say to you that's very important is that I have another person in Victoria. Now, his household was upside down. He has 2 kids with ADHD, teenagers. Now, ADHD is one of those things that a lot of people are going on pension for, especially in the Nordic and also in America. I'm going to address this subject for a reason, for a very important reason. Okay, now, in Denmark, I'm sitting in Denmark now. I've never seen more mental disorders and defects than I've ever seen in my life up here. Nearly every second person I run into can't cope in life. And I'm serious about this. This is what socialism really does, right, to the human society. I'm not saying this to be unkind. I'm saying it's because it's true. It's got more ADHD than any country in the world. In the last 12 months in the mainstream media the other day, right, just a couple of weeks ago, they actually said on mainstream that their youth has gone up with mental disorders and ADHD 36% in 12 months. On the mainstream media here, they're told not to throw stuff away. They're throwing too much clothes away and electronics, and there's nowhere to dump it all over Europe. So they've urged in 2019 for all people to slow their consumption down. 3 months ago in the mainstream media, they said that the average person in Denmark throws away 160 kilos of clothes per person per year. They buy 7 times more on the internet. They buy more fast food than ever. They buy new phones all the time on contracts and live way beyond their means. And I do mean way beyond their means. Most of them live beyond their means. And if you have a look at the marketing strategy, what it does here to people, you can really see what's going on in the world without getting confused about things. Most people buy things and do what they do from a marketing strategy because they live on 5 senses all the time. And it's actually a habit, okay? People getting into bad habits with credit rating, banks owing money, right? And the whole marketing strategy is making us suffer more and more every day, and the interest rate goes up and we don't get nothing from the banks. Less people work in the bank, more nasty they're becoming. If you compare a banker or going to the bank 40 years ago, they were really kind to you and you had great service and a good interest rate. All that's gone at the same time. If you just look at the structure here with the banking system alone and how they treat you at the bank now, and you can't even get cash in Denmark in most banks, right? You've got to go to a certain bank to get cash. You can see what it does to society, what socialism really does do. Denmark's already implemented a lot of the things we're talking about. And their system's already far advanced into socialism, which is created from egotism and atheism. It's the most atheist country in the world. They tried to put up stickers in their buses about 8 years ago, and go and look at Google, and they promote atheism. And of course, the church is, right, the most devastating collapse that they ever had. You can go and read all the articles on this. And Denmark has the highest MS and mental disorders in the whole world and takes the most happy pills. Let me tell you something, right? I was on tramadol for back pain, which is only a synthetic drug of an opiate, right? It's not an opiate. I don't take opiates. And I told my doctors that. One day I went to the doctors to get my tramadol, right? I hadn't been on it for a couple of months because you're supposed to manage your pain and get off the medication and then go back on it from starting from low again, so it works correctly. And I do that. I did it correctly. I go to my doctor and they wouldn't give me tramadol. And yet my specialist from the hospital, right, it's this report that counts, but the doctor wouldn't give it to me. Now, what happened here in an argument about this with malpractice, the doctor offered me opiates. Opiates is the biggest killer in our society today. It's also the worst drug in Denmark and also the one giving away the most. And we come to the point where I said, look, this is malpractice. You're offering me an opiate tablet that's 10 times worse that we're trying to abolish in the world. It's the most dangerous drug in our youth. Now, if I go down to see a solicitor right now, I will have your job easy for malpractice. So you want to have a good excuse why you're trying to give me opiates and not a tramadol, a lizard drug. That's designed not to have the same problem. Nowhere near the same addiction, nowhere near the side effect, nowhere near the same damage. So why would you want to give me an opiate? So the doctor got a little bit scared and he turned the computer and showed me the memo from the government. The government had sent a memo to every doctor to stop giving people tramadol and to give them opiates because it's cheaper. Yet the adverse effect is far worse, far deeper, right? And considering that's the biggest killer of our youth, wouldn't you say that that's part of a depopulation plan? Because you can justify whatever you want. If they want to give you opiates in today's world, where it's the biggest killer in the world, and they order the doctors to do that, what does that tell you alone with one email? One email, what does it tell you? You can come to whatever conclusion you want, but what does it tell you? So the system creates the problems. That's what it tells you. The system creates the marketing strategy. The system creates depopulation and kids going in and out of homes and going into jail, because this is one of the worst drugs for all these things. Opiates. And when you see a government memo like this, you can come to what conclusion you want. But when you discover something else from other doctors, that there are more than 15 different types of memos sent exactly the same to the doctors, then stop and ask yourself a question. Why is the doctors doing what they're told when they know what they're doing? Where's their moral instincts at? Where's their moral values at? Every doctor in Denmark's covering this up. That's what you discover. Every doctor, this is a memo that goes to every surgery, every doctor in the whole nation. It's a memo for every doctor. And if there's more than 15 like this, what does this tell you alone about the system you're living in? Let me tell you something about Denmark's police officers. I've seen the most radical, immoral, unethical and incompetent behaviour when we would have got locked down on COVID. They went inside people's home and dragged women out in front of their kids. Horrible police officers. You can watch the police on the TV here, right? Okay, they have a show with police, right, that pulls over traffic people all the time for speeding and shit. And if they try to open a can of coke or light a smoke, they take it out of their hands with very aggressive behaviour and say, you will do as you're told, or I'll put handcuffs on you. You will not have a drink, you will not have a smoke. This is what you see on TV here. You can see they're not very kind at all. They're very aggressive police officers. Let me tell you something, right? One day I rode over, about 7 o'clock in the morning, I rode across a zebra crossing. There wasn't a car or person in the street. They were coming down the hill. I went across on a green light and rode my push bike across the zebra crossing. The police went straight after me and pulled me over. And this is what the police said to me. They said what I did was illegal by riding the bike. There was not one soul on the zebra crossing. There was no one there. It was early in the morning. Right? And there was one car in front of the police car coming down the hill. That was it. They got a red light. I went across on the green light. So he pulls me over because I was riding the bike on the zebra crossing, and he says to me, but two young fellas, they said, oh, you know, we you know, this is dangerous, you know, and like he's starting to give me a lecture. And, you know, he's got to give me 1,000 kroner fine for riding the push bike. It's a $200 fine for riding across the zebra crossing. Not endangering anyone, on a green light. And this police officer turns around and says, he says, you know, there was a kid the other day that went across like that and ran into a person and got hurt. And I said, did she get a fine? No, she's too young. I said, so you're going to compare me with a child who's just learning how to ride a bike, runs into a person, hurts someone, that you can't even fine. You want to compare me with that and justify why you should give me a fine for 1,000 kroners, $200? That's your justification? And I said to the police, I said, can I explain something to you? I will bet you any money you like. There's nothing in your job description that tells you to give me a lecture and compare me with an 8-year-old child that you can't find to justify why you have this authoritarian controlling behaviour over me to try and belittle me that's twice your age. For what purpose is that? Can you just give me the fine, right? And then ask yourself, what kind of father brought you into the world? Let me explain something to you, son. In Denmark, on the mainstream media, the politicians say, elder is a burden to society. And then you see in the homes in Denmark, every 3 or 4 or 5 months, you see that old people in a home, right, they don't get their ass wiped or fed. So they don't even look after them here, right, because of what politicians say in the mainstream media with egotism and atheism tools. And the homes here non-stop have complaints non-stop with how they're behaving inside homes. You know, the hospital system bitches and complains about new doctors and nurses non-stop here. They want more staff, more staff. Every time you go to hospital, there's 1 million staff members in there and they don't do nothing. And I'm not joking, right? Their staff goes up and up and up and up and up, but the population's only got up 600,000 in 50 years. And that's immigration. But their hospital and doctors and nurses has tripled. And they're controlled by a job centre that send you to see a psychiatrist, right, all the time, right, because they act dysfunctional and they've got no respect towards elders with knowledge whatsoever, right? In fact, in the unemployment office, you've got 100 people working behind the counter and 2 people out the front, and they've got guards there. You can't even talk to them. They can't even function. Do you know then the Big Guinness Book of Records for a 26,500 page book in the job centre inside Social Security for unemployed, the unemployment book, 26,000 pages long, and you know it's got 15 regulations for every regulation. So it's the biggest book you'll ever read that causes, right, congruent division, right, because it's used as a tool to congruent divide with, right, with what we call discriminating behaviour. So they discriminate really, really bad, and inside the office they're confused about what the rules are and they don't even know what they are. They argue about that and debate about that because they can't even function together. So they're proud of a book that's never revised, right? They're proud of that book that confused them more than anything on the mainstream media at the same time and laugh about it. Peter Madsen was one of the worst murders in Denmark, right? He sliced up a reporter. On the news on mainstream, right, it was on for 5 months. You know what they kept saying on news? Oh, Peter was the first private person who built the first private U-boat. 30 years ago, they were doing that in Mexico and dragging drugs out and getting done by the DA with registered U-boats they built personally themselves, right? And they've been doing it for years. There's even programs made about this. So Denmark's on the front page news going, oh, Denmark first, Denmark best, right? And you know, when you're in Denmark, you see that at least once a month in mainstream media, they say something about Denmark first, Denmark best. It's like they've got this really massive egotism. They call it the happiest country in the world, all over the world in every report, because they listen to what they say, right? Because they live in a massive delusion to pretend they're happy. Why do they have the most mental disorders in the whole world? Why do they take the most happy pills? Why do they have the most ADHD? Why does it escalate out of control with their consumption and their egotism? Because it's atheism, and that's what socialism is, right? And socialism is being pushed by the WF, right, and the European Union, right, is pushed by these people that are totally monsters. They don't care about society. They don't care about children because their mental disorders and defects went from 2% in 1960 to 54% by 2019, now escalating 7 times faster, accelerating 7 times faster, confirmed. So they're pushing the same buttons on the same marketing strategy. And that's what's happening to the whole world on the same marketing strategy through the same rules and regulations that they want to impose on the whole world with the way they behave. They don't want to look at indigenous people who's lived in a timeline where time stands still, life preserves, where they've always loved one another and been as burdens, right, with the right tools, where they don't have any defective genes or mental disorders whatsoever, no gene defects, right? They help one another and love one another, and they don't consume anywhere near the Western civilization does. They consume 7 times more per capita in the last 45 years, 12 times more per capita in the last 100 years. And the marketing strategy keeps going through the roof the same way. So everything's about a marketing strategy, no matter what the tools are that they use, and they don't care, right? They do not care, right? Because they're trapped inside their mind. And what that causes with people over the world is people like Jason, where his 2 sons have ADHD and couldn't function. The whole house was upside down, right? Through the same system, right? The same thing we're talking about here, the same governmental system, right? Good people, a good family where their kids have ADHD because of the tools they're using, and the household was upside down. Now, this guy found me here, okay? And he started to listen to me and practice what I preach, right? And when he started this, he changed the atmosphere in his environment at home. His kids could never leave the bedroom. They were stuck on gaming, couldn't function in society, had no friends, couldn't even go to school. On ADHD medication. which the whole system puts them on pension for. And Denmark puts more people on pension for ADHD than any other country in the world. And happy pills on a marketing strategy that only manages the system, doesn't cure anybody. So they're quite happy to put you on pension for this disease, right? But an old person like myself who's got lung cancer, 3 stents fitted in my heart, right? A collapsed back, right? They won't put me in pension. They're monsters. And I do mean they're monsters, right? They're pure evil. I see them put young people on ADHD medication, but thank God I can repair myself. Thank God I know how to, because their system doesn't, right? So I'm not controlled by their marketing strategy and all their diseases and all the crap and all their bullshit that comes out of their mouth. Because I know I've repaired my arteries in my heart with 3 stents fitted. Okay? I've changed my DNA. I've done many extraordinary things, and that doesn't mean I'm going to beat cancer. But you know what? My odds are pretty good, right? And their system's pretty bad. That's a known fact. Okay? Their system's pretty bad the way they manage things. And I'll tell you why. One guy, okay, one man, okay, listen to what I say, practice what I preached, right? And then his kids, one of his kids came out of his bedroom and I was wondering what's going on with Dad, because Dad's so positive now. He's got this aura about him, right? And he, you know, and the child needs a father with real love and compassion, right? And he starts to connect with his father for the first time in years. And he just pays attention to his father, and his father's just living on a cloud, living in his own world, living completely outside his mind, because you know what? He found freedom. From everything he was suffering inside that household was so much negativity, right? Spiraling out of control. And right now, if you take a look at the world, I would say the world's spiraling out of control, wouldn't you? With a total communication breakdown all over the world, wouldn't you? So when this is happening to people, you know, on people's home front all over the world, conquer and divide, right, with the same tools, 1 degree or another, doesn't matter what, everyone's going through this at the moment to 1 degree or another. And you see this one person, right? He changes everything, and his son comes to him. And then his son goes through a 30-day process that he went through when he first began, right? He just wanted to know what this was all about. He wanted some of that. And the son got stuck into it for a month. And into the second month, the second son came out the bedroom. And the second son went through this as well. Before you know it, they're outside playing and communicating with the kids again, and off the gaming, off the computers, off the phones, off the gaming, and they're coping. They're coping with their friends again because they're giving an inspiration and encouragement they've never had before in their life to think outside the mind, not with the mind, to be free from this. Those children went off their ADHD medication after being off ADHD medication for years. Those kids got fully connected, got off drugs, managed themselves, learned to cope them in life, stand on their 2 feet, and reconnect with everything in life and become very productive at the same time. You know what's astonishing about this? Is you become very productive. You're not afraid of work. You're not afraid of carrying yourself. You're not afraid to take care of your family, loved ones, and family neither. What you learn through this is not to crash the marketing strategy, but to work together. To work together and to stand up and cope in life, and not having the mindset and being trapped in the mind not to cope. Not to cope with your situation, and always to conquer and divide or avoid it or live in your own bubble, your own truth, or some sort of comfort zone. But to be out in the open, to be in the truth, and the truth will set you free. The real truth will set you free. Not the truth you live in. The placebo effect is 10 times more powerful than your reality. It's to get out of your reality, to get out of your mind, get out of the trap inside the mind that oppresses you so much. You know, you have the oppressor and the suppressor, right? And we oppressed inside the mind and become our own prison and our own warden. Inside our mind, trapped in our mind with our high IQ and thinking we're intelligent and we think we know everything. And it's the wrong tools. It's simply the wrong tools. It's simply inverted. If your perceive affects 10 times more power than your reality, imagine what you've got to gain. Don't live in brain locked and knowledge about it and think you've got nothing to gain. That's the worst thing you could do in the world. To think you know everything and you're awake and you know everything. It's the worst thing you can do. It's the worst thing you can do to yourself. Not to think you can gain from this, it's the most ridiculous thing you can do. And that goes for every human being on earth. Because it's 10 times more powerful than the reality you've ever come to learn about. In any education system and anything you know in this world, anything you've ever come to learn about, Breaking free from amnesia is discovering something about yourself that's beyond the mindset you live in. Way beyond. And how do you explain that in a language that you don't understand? How do you do that? You can't. There is no words for this. And you can only describe it in the best tools that you have with basic common sense and not confuse it with the marketing strategy, with the high IQ, with the sophisticated knowledge and the language that we're programmed into. But to get right away from that, because it only makes you good at what you do. It's only your personality. But deep down inside you, everybody wants to know, why am I here? Who am I? And what's the meaning of life? And believe me, that's what you discover. And to discover that within yourself is to get off social media platform, to get off education, to get off the thinking, and actually doing something about it. Actually genuinely doing something about it. Like the We're Not Breathing program. Put yourself through a 30-day test. Ice cold showers, ice baths. Listen to Jeremy Griffiths. Read the book. And it will start to alter you in ways you never even dreamed of. But you'll never know. You will never ever know if you don't put yourself through this process. You will never discover things, right, about this if you don't listen. Don't think for 1 minute you've got nothing to learn here. Because what you've got to learn is astonishing. And nothing but short of a miracle. Beyond explanation, phenomenal. Right? Outside the mind, dimensionally. With your sixth sense and the most positive feels. Dimensional thinking. A whole different perception you've never had before in your life. And when you look from the outside in instead of the inside out, you learn things you've never learned before in your life. You see things you could never see before in your life. You start to unravel things that you never even dreamed about. You start to see things and you start to get it in ways you never have. But when you can get kids out of the bedroom and stand on their feet and cope in life and never take medication again, and you're getting reports for this for the next 18 months, and the whole household changes that much, they become that productive in their own mindset and they get it. They actually get it. Now, I've got people here that's been following me for years, the last 3 or 4 years, right? Family people who had the same problem in their whole family environment. I've got many ladies here who had a communication breakdown with their husband and their family and their children, and have learned to reconnect and put them back together again with their family values in the right place. I got people from Australia, America, and countries all over the world. I got people everywhere around the world going through the same BS and breaking free from it and finding the greatest liberation they've ever even known in human history. I've changed so many people's lives, like Philip, who's made many videos, who came here to me ready to commit suicide, right? Could not function with his family. So disconnected, you have no idea, right? In Denmark, suffering what everyone's suffering from up here the most. In 2 hours, I changed his life. From a man ready to commit suicide, never made a video before in his life, never ever put himself on show in any way, shape or form. Go back and take a look at his first video nearly 2 years ago. Take a look at his videos today. Take a good look what I've done to this man. Right now, he has gone through the proudest moment of his life with his father again and his whole family. Totally reconnected like that again, right? And when you have those kind of results that really are working amongst people like this all over the world, and you look at Jared's video, I put it up this morning, you understand how many people that doesn't come to social media platform, that doesn't talk on here, that doesn't even comment, but I talk to every day in my timelines, right, on Messenger, that discovers these things. And you know, so often me and my wife sitting here in total tears because I know the liberation they're getting when they're in tears. And when they have so much appreciation for what you brought them through and change their whole household and change the environment, you know you can change the atmosphere in anybody. And you know, one of the greatest gifts I ever had was at a nightclub in Brisbane that had the greatest atmosphere recorded by every cab driver, every police department, every politician, every person in the underground world. The greatest atmosphere reported by every worker there on front line, right, on the front page of Swizzy magazine. I was the highest recommended nightclub ever in history with that kind of atmosphere. Now, the atmosphere can change a household. And if I can do that on social media platform, I can change your life. I can change every single thing you suffer from, because people who listen and practice what I preach is coming up with these results and free from being trapped inside their mind. Freedom and being liberated in ways that people don't have time for. They're too far struck into nowhere and beyond the point of return. And majority is, I'm afraid, because they don't know how to love themselves correctly. And when they don't know how to do that, they don't know how to love anyone else neither. They want to save the world. They don't even know how to save their own backyard unless they practice this. And it takes a lot of dedication when you understand the damage done here for 300 years of reverse psychology. When you understand how inverted we are to use the tools that we are and how much it takes to repair that, there isn't any amount of information or social media platform that's going to do it. Let me explain something to you. When you're a child, 0 to 7, and you mastermind a computer game moves 7 times faster than an adult can, you're fully activated with adrenochrome that creates an accretion from oxidization in your blood, right? That fires up your body cells with the outside influence. The light bulb idea, the picture that tells you 1,000 words that guides you in that computer game. A child can feel his gut feeling survival mode with his instincts, his natural organic molecules. It's his instincts to feel things between right, wrong, and evil. So his gut's feeling survival mode is the chakra, where he's on fire with a shiver in his spine, which is known as Jacob's ladder. That's a Neuralink, the tree of life inside your body, right? That fires up your body cells on the outside, and a conduction of adrenochrome, right? That conducts you. You're a conducting agency. When you think outside the mind, you're in the light, not in the mind where you're in the dark. Okay? And so you're on fire, right? You're on fire with inspiration and encouragement in your primal state to think instinctively with the natural organic molecules. And you receive information from an outside influence on your reality that changes the circumstances for you to mastermind the computer game between 3 and 7 to move 7 times faster than an adult can. If you were given faith in your biological genes to use your natural organic molecules, you'd be like Bruce Lee by 24, who can master his mind and move 7 times faster than anyone can think, and master it in ways you do not understand. But they're facts. But you're designed for an education to be stupid and think you're intelligent at the same time with a high IQ, and then suffer the consequences from a mental institutionalization where you suffer from the voice in the mind that controls you all the time. And it's called the human conditioning of stress, fear, anxiety, confusion, frustration, delusion, and paranoia, and being two-faced all the time, always being stuck between two minds. And being free from that is being free from the voice in mind that's ultimately designed from an extinction. And there's nothing to be afraid of, right? It's the fear that controls you. It's the stress and anxiety that controls you. And you can only gain from here. You've got nothing to lose from here. Thinking outside the mind is the outside influence on your reality. Go back to your childhood and think instinctively and think outside the mindset you're programmed into. And you can do what I can and more. And trust me, the liberation is sensational. When you stick your head through the light at the end of the tunnel, you look back in the tunnel and realize, my God, there's nothing in the world that taught me this. And there's only one way in the whole world to discover this. You must stick your light through the light at the end of the tunnel. You must go through the light. It's called The Cave by Plato, the greatest philosopher of all time. And every scholar ever since has been put knows of Plato. Jeremy Gibbs explains this as the cave, sticking your head through the light of the cave, where the grass is a lot shiny on the other side and the grass is a lot greener. Then you look back in the cave and you realize, my God, I didn't know any better. And they call it reborn, okay, in the biblical stuff, right? Okay, crossing over, Hebrew crossing over from the 6 to the 9 in yin and yang. The dark six of the dark tunnel we live in, were the voices from the tree of knowledge of all things good and evil. The voices in your mind that tells you to do it all the time or not do it, that you argue with, right? Thinking outside the mind, it's a 9, right? It's a light where you conduct, right? You conduct, you're awake, you're alert, alive, waking, and weird like a child. And that's where you're highly intelligent. That's where you can respond 7 times faster. There's nothing to be afraid of here. It's a liberation, okay? And that's what people don't want to wake up to. Why? Why don't they want to wake up to the truth that's going to set them free from every single thing going on in the world? Because it's responsible for every single decision being made right now. It's responsible for every gene defect, every mental disorder. And you know the most stressful thing in the world today is putting food on the table, a shirt in the back, and a roof over your head. It's the biggest killer. Stress-related disease are responsible for every death in the world every day, right? In heart attacks, blood clots, myocarditis, and cancer, it's your body cells going corruption, corrosion, collusion from pollution. And it's a mindset we live in. Talk to 2 plates of water. Give unconditional love to one and a lot of hate to the other for 2 minutes. Put them in a freezer overnight. Pull them out in the morning and take a look with your own 2 eyes, because your body cells, 75% of your body cells, right, is water. 93% of your DNA is water. It's emanating technology. It's matter. It has a personality. And that's what you discover. So we're disconnected from life, nature, and the things we're in harmony with. And when we have a relationship with Mother Nature, believe it or not, our fruit, when we bear the right fruit with the right tools, we grow 10 times more fruit with 10 times more nutrition value, discovered. And when we talk to water with the same tools, it repairs their DNA immune system. Because it also activates us to use our natural organic molecules with the chakra, the gut feeling survival mode, the very preservation mode for life, that base molecules to repair genes and immune system, right? With the shiver in your spine, the power, the God-given power to think instinctively and think outside the mind 95 to 99% of the time. Okay? Where you're alert, alive, waking with your body cells, where your aura fires up, and the glory of love pours all over you with those frequencies. Loyalty, honor, respect, marvelous inspiration, encouragement. And that's your primal state. That's your natural organic molecules where you can respond 7 times faster. That's who you are. You are the mastermind of your own mind. So therefore, the voices are not mastering your mind. Right now, your vessel and your mind is being mastered by the voices and mastering your soul and your spirit. Inside your heart, your intuition. Your intuition is the body cells. To think outside the mind, where your placebo effect is 10 times more powerful than your reality. So you've got to release your mind and not be stuck in that reality, literally. And understand, this is spiritual. This is thinking instinctively. This is our natural organic molecules. And it's all coded in our DNA with 8 frequencies. And they're called the tools of righteousness. Loyalty, honor, respect, mobilization, and encouragement. When you use that platform and you connect yourself with life, nature, and all the things you're in harmony with, you also connect yourself with people with the same tools. And there's nothing to be confused about this. Everyone's confused in the mind because the mind's very confusing. And that's what the syndrome is. The way we think like a robot to fact check Google ourselves like zombies in this world and think we know better when we don't. We're like children today in post-human stage. Right? We can't even respond and have an intelligent conversation. We can't even keep our family, lovers and friends together because we're using all the wrong tools. And it's not Einstein to work this out. It's basic common sense. Think outside the mind. That's where you're highly intelligent. God gave you that gift. Freedom is a liberation. The truth will set you free. Right? It's not what you think. It's not what the religion's saying. It's not what the scientists are saying. It's not what the education system's saying. That's what Jeremy Griffiths is telling you. That's what these biologists are telling you in the World Transformation Movement. Just like Jesus did. It's not what you think. And you don't know that until you stick your head through the light at the end of the tunnel and look back in the tunnel you come from. You cannot possibly know until this moment. That's why we take you through a process, right, through the World Transformation Movement to understand this biologically. Please read the book Freedom. And trust me, by the end of that book, my God, it's going to change your whole DNA system the way you think. And when you do the Winner Breathing Program for 30 days, right, with cold showers and ice baths, trust me, put yourself through the great experience, wisdom, and knowledge to learn this. And what true liberation is, and you too will be broken into tears. But if you don't do this, and you keep exercising what you do and keep thinking all the time, you're never going to discover this. You're never going to discover this. I've changed people's lives all over the world, okay? And that's all I want you to know. It doesn't matter who I am, where I come from. What matters is the tools I give you, right? The tools that's going to change the world. Because the book Freedom's hailed by every top scholar in the world to be the holy grail of understanding yourself biologically. Freedom, the liberation, right? It's going to change the world. It's going to save humanity. God had a plan, and this is it, man. God had a plan, and this is the plan. To live up the tree of life and not to live up the tree of knowledge all the time. Because it oppresses us. It becomes the oppressor. And we become our own prison and our own warden with those tools without even realizing it. These are facts. And this is the greatest liberation and the greatest time to be alive when you learn this. And I don't want you to miss out on this. There are thousands of people all over the earth. You will see the World Transformation Movement. You can see the Human Condition of World Transformation Movement on many videos all over the world. You know, Dr. Bruce Lipton is teaching this, that the placebo extends on more power than reality. Joe Dispenza is telling you we can stop aging process. Winhoff won a Nobel Prize with 27 Guinness Book of Records for superhuman abilities. And as he says, you can do what I can and more. Trust me, these are the tools. Jordan Peterson, the biggest psychiatrist right now chosen on this path, with these top scientists in the world, is using biblical stuff and the Bible to explain it psychologically. Psychologically, on a psychiatrist's point of view, right? And that's what's being moved in the World Transformation Movement across the world, right? Study this correctly and give it the time to learn this. Read the book Freedom. Do the Winner Breathing program. Do not leave yourself short and not discover who you are, why you're here, and the meaning of life is, because it's going to be the biggest liberation that's going to save the world. And those that don't go into this, they will suffer the consequences, unfortunately. They're the facts. They know that. They actually do know that. And they're very afraid of the people that's beyond the point of return that's not going to wake up to this. Because their moral values have gone that far and they've twisted the fabric of the truth can't even snap right back. But that's what's happening here. The truth's about to snap right back at us, and that's liberation, and it's sensational. You've got to live in the truth. You've got to do the right thing with every decision you make, because if you consistently live the way that you do, and you consistently consume the information that you do, and you consistently avoid this, you cannot change the circumstances whatsoever. You live in brain-locked denial, in a massive delusion, and that's a syndrome that's happening all over the world with egotism. Self-centered, competitive behavior in some kind of bubble in a comfort zone. Trust me, you do not want to do this to yourself. Break out of this, because you can only gain from here, and what you gain from here is sensational and nothing short of a miracle. There are no words good enough to express this, and I hope you're going to learn the right way, because believe me, these videos, every household in the world, every person in the world deserves to know this, because you'd be surprised how many people lives at home, right, around your family, lovers and friends that are feeling the same experiences right now, but do not know how to convey this, do not know how to communicate about this because of the problems all over the world. A total communication breakdown because we're using the wrong tools. So trust me, every family, loved one and friend will pay attention to this, because they will feel it in their own heart with their own intuition. And that's how God works, right? No matter how you look at it. That's how the whole system is working right now through the world transformation, with the top bowlers and the top scholars in the whole world and the top scientists. They're all on the same page for the first time in human history. So there's no reason to conquer and divide with any opinions or any egotism anywhere in the world. Anyone who doesn't care about this, right, as far as I'm concerned, right, they're becoming a waste of space, right, and oxygen thieves, right? That's a hard thing to say, but they're not human anymore, and they don't care. They don't care about themselves or their family, lovers and friends. And that is the majority, unfortunately. And they're just becoming a waste of space here, right? Who's just filling in the gaps, right? And some of us are going to wake up to this, and a lot of us are not, right? But you know, we change the atmosphere, that changes the household environment, that changes everything around you and spreads like a virus. And believe me, there's nothing but good about this. Everyone's living so much negativity, they spread the negativity that spreads like a virus that goes into extinction. And we have to spend the positivity, to be optimistic and to think with the sixth sense and to think outside the mind, not with the mind. That's what the problem is. So believe me, you cannot get more love and compassion with the right tools than this. In the whole world, this is bringing you back to your family values and your moral values. This is bringing you back to your natural organic motor skills, where you feel the liberation so far beyond, because when you don't understand the most crucial thing, is you're stripped from them 95 to 99% of the time. Right, from 95 to 99% of your power. You have 1.4 volt in every body cell. You have 285,000 chemicals and the molecules to stop aging process and repair all your genes and immune system. But you don't know how to use it, do you? So only one thing will get you there: faith. And we need hope and faith in this world. Faith is the key. Faith is your placebo effect. That's 10 times more powerful than your reality. Faith in your own biological system to use your natural organic molecules with 8 tools of righteousness that are the building blocks to be a loving, compassionate creature. It's about love. It's about the meaning of life. It's about thinking outside the mind. And trust me, the rest of the world, unfortunately, is full of BS. So, you know, Jesus was right, and they discovered that. They found the tools of immortality. They found the tools to think outside the mind. They found the truth to cope in life. They found the truth to be free from every single thing possessed in our mind, with the demons in our mind that causes all the habits around here, all the addictions and all the consumption, and the things that makes every person in the world suffer with an inversion. They think too much and trapped inside their mind, and everyone can relate to this with their own moral instincts. They do not know what they do, and they do not know any better. And trust me, it's the greatest liberation in human history. And those that understand this, they're going to get it. Those that don't, won't. That's their own decision. They give consent to the devil in their voice, in their mind, and they have authority to do that. And that's their own decision. That becomes their own judgment in the most negative fields. And that's going to cause them extinction. That's accelerating 7 times faster, no matter what mindset they live in, no matter what bubble they live in, no matter what they want to believe in. They're facts of life, and they know in every document in the world that the world's going to collapse because of this reason. That's not pretty, but it is reality. All right? But you don't have to fear. Think outside the mind. Learn these tools right now because you're going to need them. Right? And when you understand the liberation from this, you'll not fear nothing ever again. You'll never suffer stress, fear, anxiety, confusion, frustration, delusion, or paranoia ever again. You'll never be two-faced in your mind. You'll never be confused. You'll be liberated. Right? And then you go back to a primal state and stand in your own 2 feet in your own sovereignty and understand that your relationship that you have with everything connected to life is what's going to feed you in ways you have never, ever understood before in human history. Trust me. Right? God has a way of looking after you, and so does Mother Nature when you're connected. And we discovered this, and every top scholar in the world is on exactly the same page, scientifically, biologically, and spiritually. And that's why you can have faith in what I'm saying to you. Learn this. Dedicate yourself, because believe me, when it can change a household, and it can change people all over the world, it can change you too. Okay? It can change everybody.